Alright, welcome to the module 2 of this course on how to vibe code an application from start to finish using AI. So last time we talked about the downloadables, as you can see on my screen, the three software that we'll be needing to vibe code our app from start to finish and to publish it on Play Store. So we talked about Stitches, which is going to be used for our front end design. Basically our front end, it will be like a UI UX design to us. We talked about Cursor that will do the coding for us. And finally, we talked about Android Studios that I promised that I will show how it is going to be useful for us, how it will make our work and our life easier. We also talked about the extras, which is mobin.com, where we can get free ready-made UI from already existing apps. In this module, we're going to talk about how to write two important files that will help us develop the software from start to finish. These two files are the most important part of this project because if you don't have these two files, it's better you don't even start the project altogether. These two files will determine whether you are going to debug for how many hours, for 10 hours, for more than 10 hours, for a longer time. These two files also determine whether you are going to finish quick or finish slowly. They are basically the heart of your project. I'm going to explain in details what these two files are and how they can be used in our project. And I'm going to create these two files for our project in this module. So this module, we are basically going to focus on the usefulness of these two files. So the first one is the Requirement.md, like you see here. The MD means markdown file. So I was the one that gave you the name Requirement.md. That was my naming. It wasn't a kind of standard naming or something. You can name your own anything you want. So why I call it the Requirement.md is basically the file. When you make a research on your project, is basically everything you need to implement on your project, the tech stack, the back end, the database, and everything you need to implement on your project in details. So you have to put all those things in your Requirement.md. It's all the things you need, both the tech stack, both the know-how, both the database, both the backend, all the connection. If there are some kind of API key that you are going to be used or whatever, you have to detail everything in the Requirements.md. So it's basically from 0 to 100% of what you are going to do in your project, what you will need to do for your project to be complete from 0 to 100%. Now, the second one we are going to talk about is Steps.md. I also was the one that gave you this nomenclature, Steps.md. It basically says what it does. Steps.md is a file that is created out of the Requirement.md. It is the step-by-step you have to take from 0 to 100 in order to complete your project. But it basically is the step-by-step format or step-by-step requirement you need to code your project from the beginning to the final end, to basically the deployment or something like that, depending on where you want the Steps.md to stop. But it is the step-by-step in numerical order, what you will do, what you are doing now, and what you are going to do in the future till the project is complete. So I'm going to show you how to make these two files from your idea, basically your project idea. So we are going to be using ChatGPT, and you won't be needing ChatGPT Pro or something like that. The free version is more than okay in what we are doing. But what you will need is the thinking mode so that it can be able to go through your project thoroughly and give you the maximum best output it can give you. So if I scroll down here, you can see where I have already stated the prompt for the Requirement.md. So you can see here I said I need you to state all the requirements to build an Android app that I came here to write the detail of the app, budget and expense tracker plus subscription reports, helps people manage personal finance, log expense / income, categorize, show analytics, set budgets, and maybe sync across devices. Subscription unlocks advanced reports or analysis. Basically, this subscription is for the pro tier for the app. So it says here all requirements, tech stack, and other miscellaneous information on how to accomplish this Android app We will be using Kotlin and a Google login for the authentication. I already established that we'll be using Kotlin for this our app, and I also established that we'll be using Google as the authentication method for this our app. So it says here we will be using Cursor for developing the app from start to finish. So basically asking ChatGPT to state every single requirement, every single thing we need in accomplishing this app. And we made something known, Kotlin and Google authentication, mean that it could use other stuffs, other softwares for other parts of this project, but we are basically telling it we are going to use Kotlin. That will not change. So if we give it to ChatGPT, it will stick with Kotlin. It will kind of create the requirement.md using that or Flutter or maybe React Native or something like that. So for people that doesn't know what is that and Flutter, you don't need to bother yourself. It's basically another language for coding mobile apps, right? So that one is not important to you. What is important is what I'm doing at the moment. So as for the steps.md, we are going to turn this requirement to steps, but we're not going to be using ChatGPT for that. We'll be using Cursor. But for now, let's copy this instruction, or would I say prompt, for the requirement.md and use it on ChatGPT. All right, we are now on ChatGPT, and looking at the interface, you can already see that we have been doing a lot of things in the past, a lot of projects in the past. So we are in a new interface, chat interface, where we are going to instruct ChatGPT to give us everything we need to accomplish, everything we need in accomplishing this application. So I'm going to basically paste that prompt I copied from my docs file, and I'm going to also activate thinking mode, and I'm going to also add something that I missed earlier on. I'll be like, let everything that we are going to use for this course or tutorial be free. So I'm going to add it here real quick. So I basically added this last sentence for it to take note of that. For you to bear in mind that we are looking for a free way to do this stuff without paying, um, putting our credit card somewhere of some sort. So we are going to try to make everything using a free app or maybe free software, free whatever stuff we have available for us. So basically, this is the prompt we copied from the docs file. I just added this last sentence that we will be needing stuff that are free. And basically, I'm going to hit the search button so that ChatGPT will go ahead, analyze our project requirement and what we want, and give us a full requirements breakdown of these our projects from start to finish. Let's go ahead and click the send button. All right. ChatGPT have finally given us the full requirements, and we're not going to go ahead to read all these things. We are going to basically take it from here to Cursor, Composer, and then we have to create the steps.md. But before we actually go over to creating the steps.md, we have to go to GitHub and create a new project, a repository for this our new project, so that we can store it in the cloud in GitHub, can push it in GitHub over there. So I'm going to basically create a new repo um, for this project you are about to accomplish. I'm going to basically click on new repo, and wait for it. And it shows me the pop-up to create a new repo. So I'm going to name this project budget, or let me call it expense app. So I'm going to name it expense app. Yeah, I think I have to put an underscore over here. So I'm going to call the repo expense app. There won't be need of putting any description over here. And we will leave it as a public project, meaning that anybody can have access to it when we are done. And we don't need any readme over here. So the git ignore, we will leave it like that. We will leave everything like this at the default mode. The only thing we added is just the repository name. Here we have to click on create new repository so that we can go ahead and start. Yeah, it basically created the repository for us. So what we are going to do is that we are going to clone this repository inside Kusora so that we can be working and be pushing our project inside this repository that we created. So I'm going to copy this thing basically, and we have to go to cursor.ai. So I have to give it a few minutes to load up so that we can continue from there. So as you can see, my cursor, I've been working with it. There's a couple of projects I've been working with. So I have to, in your own case, it won't be showing up like this because you don't have any project to work with. So what you have to do, in case you are working on a project or something like that, you have to click file and create a new window. That is, if you are working on a project already. If you are not working on a project already, your cursor will appear like this without any kind of project. As you can see the project I've been working on. You can see them. There are many of them, but these are the ones that was able to pop up over here. So that's, by the way, we'll just open new projects. We'll open new projects. I'll go to my desktop, and basically I have to expand this thing a little bit. So I have to create new folder that I will be using for this project. So I have to call the folder expense, like I named it in the GitHub repo. So I have to select that folder. All right, Cursor is now open and running, but you're not going to be using this mode. This is called the editor mode. You can also use it for your project, but what is more efficient is the agent mode. I normally like using the agent mode. You can actually use the editor mode to do whatever you want to do, but I'll use the agent mode to continue to this project because it's kind of faster, and you can run multiple agents on agent mode. You can run multiple LLMs to solve different tasks on agent mode. You can't put that stuff off on editor mode. So we're going to switch to agent mode. All right, this is how the agent mode looks like. So basically, I'm going to tell Cursor to clone that repo I just created because we are going to be using it for our projects. Before we start, I want you to know that the power of Cursor, unlike a native developer, is you giving simple English that could be understood by anybody. So yeah, basically coding with English language because you have to speak with Cursor based on natural language being English. You can use other languages, other foreign languages, but English is the best, and yeah, the best language I go through with. So basically stick with English for your sanity at the pipeline of the project to avoid excess debugging and recording or doing stuff that you don't want. So we're going to first and instruct Cursor that we created a new repo for our project. What it should do now is it should clone the repo for us, and from there we can proceed with other stuff. So what I'm going to do before we proceed with asking Cursor to clone the repo, let me show you how Cursor actually is for those using it for the first time. This place is you can see that if I click this drop down, you can see the agent mode. there is a plan mode. If I choose this plan mode, it doesn't kind of iterate for your files. It's a kind of planning how your project will work out and stuff like that. It's basically what we did with ChatGPT, but for some reason I like doing it with ChatGPT. Um, I like doing this stuff with ChatGPT instead of doing it with Cursor. But you can still do basically the same thing with Cursor with the plan mode. In the ask mode, it's like asking Cursor questions based on your project, places that you are confused or something you need clarification about based on your project. You can ask Cursor questions and it will clarify. You can search your database, search your projects, search your files and tell you stuff, but it can't edit your project in this mode. Neither you can also edit your project in the plan mode. You can only edit your project in the agent mode, where you can look through your files and change stuff and iterate on stuff and even run commands in the terminal. So it's not actually difficult to grasp if you just work, open it. It's very easy. It Cursor does the heavy lifting for you while you just type English language basically on this box. So I'm going to tell you to clone this repo. Basically, I'll be like we I need you to clone this repo. So before I continue, I'll be making some typing errors and I'll be ignoring it. And I also want you to ignore it because Cursor will actually understand what I wanted to type even if I make mistake. So LLMs, large language models, have progressed to an extent. Even if I leave my mistakes unchecked, they will kind of understand what I'm trying to type. So if you are focused on trying to type everything accurately using Grammarly or something like that, it will waste a lot of your time. But if you still want to stick with perfect English and perfect sentence and stuff like that, you are free to do that. But in my own case, I will be sticking with anything that works for me. I'll be typing stuff. Some of them will appear incorrect. Some of them will not have will not have spaces and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, Kuso will understand what is happening. If you also click at the drop down here, you can see that we have many models over here. If you click on this max mode, which I won't advise you to click here, basically going to the highest rank of Kuso subscription. Your subscription will be running down as fast as possible. They will try to put you in the priority list of all the models that they have, and it won't be funny if you run out of your subscription before you finish your project. That would be weird. This auto mode basically use the best model at its disposal. If I switch to auto mode, I won't be given option to choose any model. It will basically choose the best model for me, basically, for um what it sees fit that can solve my current need. And some people actually prefer the auto mode to so that they can actually use agentic mode to choose the best model and stuff like that. But I will stick with Opus 4.5 from Anthropody because I've been coding with Opus 4.5. It's basically the best model over here. I'm seconded by GPT 5.1 Codex Max, then followed by Gemini 3 Pro. So without further waste of time, let's basically clone that repo we just created. I will be like can you clone this repo we will be using for our project? So I'm done with typing what I want it to do. And before I press enter key, I want to make sure that you understand this. I won't be kind of skipping mistakes that I run into in this project. I'll be like, in this course, I will make mistakes and I'll also let you see how I solve the mistake. I wasn't planning to change or maybe correct the mistake at the back end or maybe remove the edit out where I made mistake because that wouldn't make it relatable. But in this course, I won't be cutting any of those mistakes. I'll be making all those mistakes and I'll be correcting them. That way you will know how you tackle mistakes when you have to deal with your own project. Everything will be shown in this course. Nothing will be actually edited. The only edited part of this course will be the parts that are actually not providing any form of value to you, like speed running download, speed running loading times and stuff like that, so that we won't take all take up more time than maybe in updating apps or something like that. So we have to stick with what we have. You have to see how I make mistake and how I debug the mistake, because that's actually the main part of vibe coding. Not actually writing the code with cursor, but debugging the code with cursor, making mistakes and kind of solving it at some point. So without further ado, I'm going to press enter in this command and let's see what cursor will do for us. All right. All right, as you can see, it's cloning the repo for us. If you want to expand this terminal and see what it's actually doing, you can just press this button over here. And you can see for some reason it failed to clone my repo. It says, please make sure you have the correct access right and the repository rights. Deletion of direct field. I don't know why it refused to clone the repo. It's trying again. Let's see what happens. Yeah, it's kind of cloned it. I don't know. It's kind of an internal error. As you can see, it cloned it here. It says cloning into Express app when you appear to have cloned an empty repository. So I don't know what actually happened the first time, why you refused to clone the first time. It might be a technical error on their end, but that one is by the way. So we have to write the steps.md. Remember,